After an attack on a Moscow oil refinery, Putin responds with a fresh wave of strikes, signaling a new round of escalation. From drone attacks to burning oil facilities, the conflict is expanding across multiple fronts with growing intensity. A new wave of strikes is rattling both Crimea and Kharkiv, as each side ramps up pressure on the battlefield. Did a precision Russian strike destroy a key Ukrainian drone depot, dealing a major blow to Kiev's operational capabilities? Russian forces attacked the city of Zaporizhzhia with guided aerial bombs on June 20th. The strike was one of the latest attacks reported in the ongoing conflict. According to preliminary information, Russia reportedly launched 9 glide bombs against targets in the city. Authorities said assessments were ongoing as investigators gathered additional details. Ukrainian officials said at least 5 people were killed and 11 others were injured in the attack. Emergency services were deployed to the affected areas following the strikes. The attack damaged homes, civilian infrastructure, and an equestrian sports club. Several non-military facilities were affected by the bombardment. Local authorities said 19 multi-story residential buildings sustained damage during the strike. President Volodymyr Zelensky offered condolences to the families of those who lost loved ones. He also expressed support for the injured and affected residents. Meanwhile, Russia said its forces struck a Ukrainian drone storage site near Kharkiv. Moscow described the operation as a successful military strike. Russian officials claimed that a Su-34M bomber targeted unmanned aerial vehicles and production components in Ukraine. The statement was released as part of Russia's operational update. Russia also reported carrying out attacks on Ukrainian military formations elsewhere in the Kharkiv region. Officials said multiple military targets were engaged during the operations. Ukraine stated that Russia launched 99 drones across the country during the overnight period of June 20th to 21st. Air defense units were reportedly activated in response to the attacks. At the same time, Ukraine claimed to have carried out major drone strikes against targets in Crimea. The operation was presented as part of Kiev's ongoing long-range campaign. Ukrainian forces said 4 gas compressors and multiple military facilities were successfully hit during the strikes. Officials described the targets as important to Russian operations in the region. A bridge linking Crimea with the Kherson region was also targeted during Ukraine's operation. The crossing is considered strategically significant for transportation and logistics. Ukraine further claimed that drones struck the Tyumen oil refinery, located more than 2,000 kilometers away from Crimea. President Volodymyr Zelensky praised the long-range strikes as an effective form of sanctions against Russia. He said such operations increase pressure on Moscow's military and economic infrastructure. Russian authorities, however, claimed that the Tyumen refinery suffered no damage from the drone attack. Officials said the facility continued operating normally after the incident. The operation was reportedly conducted as part of Ukraine's so-called Middle Strike campaign. The effort focuses on targeting key infrastructure and military assets. Under the campaign, Ukrainian forces use mid-range drones to strike targets deep inside Russian territory. The strategy is intended to extend the battlefield beyond frontline areas. The latest strike followed what Ukraine described as its biggest ever drone assault on Moscow earlier in the week. The operation marked another escalation in the use of long-range unmanned systems. Ukraine on June 18 struck multiple targets across Russia, including a major oil refinery, according to Reuters reports on the attack. Footage showed thick columns of smoke rising above the Moscow refinery complex on June 18 following the reported drone strike. The strike marked the second attack in 2 days on the key facility located in Moscow's Kapotnya district. The scale of the attack caught many Muscovites off guard and reportedly triggered panic across social media platforms. Russia said its air defenses destroyed 555 Ukrainian drones across multiple regions during the overnight assault. Moscow Mayor Sergei Sobyanin said air defense units shot down 180 drones that were headed toward the Russian capital. Sobyanin acknowledged that several drones still reached the Moscow oil refinery despite extensive defense efforts. The Guardian reported that at least 7 drones appeared to penetrate Moscow's air defense shield during the attack. An earlier Ukrainian drone strike had reportedly shut down operations at the Moscow refinery before the latest attack. The strikes added to growing damage across Russia's energy sector caused by Kiev's expanding long-range drone campaign. According to The Guardian, Moscow is preparing to import fuel by sea to ease shortages caused by refinery damage. New analysis by the War Zone detailed how Russia's Skyfall nuclear cruise missile may operate, offering fresh insight into the secretive weapon. MIT researchers concluded the Buravestnik likely uses a direct-cycle nuclear propulsion system rather than a conventional engine design. The finding raised new questions about whether the missile releases radioactive material during flight and normal operation. As per the study, the weapon may be far more environmentally hazardous than previously understood by observers. Researchers Hekla and Kemp analyzed open-source data on size, speed and engine design, according to TWZ. They said the missile marks the first suspected sustained flight of a nuclear-powered aircraft-type system. Russia revealed the Buravestnik program in 2018 as one of President Putin's flagship superweapons projects. The project followed decades of failed US and Soviet experiments involving nuclear-powered aircraft concepts. Previous tests included US Project Pluto and Soviet-era airborne reactor experiments with similar ambitions. Several reported test incidents since 2017 were linked by experts to the missile program and its development. A 2019 explosion near Nanoxa killed Russian scientists and triggered radiation spikes in nearby areas. Missile length estimated at 31 feet, 9.5 meters, making it comparable to a small aircraft-sized weapon. Wingspan approximately 18 feet, 5.6 meters, according to estimates cited in the analysis. Estimated speed, Mach 0.75, indicating a subsonic flight profile focused on endurance rather than speed. Likely engine type, a direct-cycle nuclear turbojet system powered by an onboard reactor. Airflow passes directly through the reactor core, where it is heated before producing thrust. Result, propulsion generated by radioactive superheated exhaust expelled from the rear of the missile. Air is drawn into the missile and passed directly through the nuclear reactor core for heating. A compressor forces air through narrow channels surrounding the reactor's fuel rods. Fission heat superheats the air before it is expanded to create powerful rearward thrust. The superheated airflow exits through a nozzle to generate continuous propulsion during flight. No sealed coolant loop is used, meaning radioactive materials are not fully contained within the system. This design makes the system's engine compact, but also potentially highly contaminating, according to the report. Direct cycle system. Air passes through the reactor core and exits as potentially radioactive exhaust. Indirect cycle system. A sealed coolant loop keeps radiation contained inside the reactor structure. The direct system enables a smaller missile design, but may release fission particles into the atmosphere. Researchers warned the exhaust may contain argon, krypton and carbon isotopes generated by reactor activity. MIT researchers said the system would likely produce a radioactive trail throughout sustained flight operations. They said long-duration cruising would increase radiation leakage risks and accelerate reactor wear. Experts warned corrosion inside the reactor core could generate additional contamination over time. Former arms control officials said the design combines low speed with relatively high trackability. They argued it offers range advantages but weak operational stealth and limited overall military value.